In this video, I'm going to be explaining how I have installed the Hive Active Heating Multizone system into a house which I've recently moved into. The heating was originally controlled by an old Centriplus C17 digital controller with 2 wall thermostats. I've now incorporated the Hive system, which consists of a hub at my internet modem, these 2 thermostats and 2 receiver boxes, one there and one here. So this new system now controls the heating in my house, and you can see here I have the receiver installed in the wall in place of the old digital controller. So the heating in my house is split into 2 zones. There's underfloor heating in one part of the house, and there are radiators in another part of the house, and they were originally controlled by 2 thermostats, one in the hall for the radiators and a second in the kitchen for the underfloor heating. The heating system is currently active. The 3 amp fuse switch is currently turned on and the status light is green, indicating that the system is active for this receiver. So I'm now going to turn the 3 amp fuse switch off and remove the receiver to expose the wiring. So I've now isolated the wiring and removed the receiver cover box. You can see the wiring for this receiver. We have 7 connection points: a neutral, a live, 1, 2, 3, 4 and an earth. So in the first neutral and live, there are 3 wires connecting to different components. First connection for each of these neutral and live is coming from the 3 amp fuse. The second connection is going to the boiler and bringing power to the valves and pump for the heating. And then the third connection is one that I introduced, which is for the second receiver, which is in the boiler cupboard. In the live connection, there's actually a 4th brown wire, and it connects to connection point 1, and this is to connect from the live to the common connection point. And then we can see here at the earth, there are 3 wires connected to the earth. And for connection point 3, this is under the Hive wiring system. This is the heating on connection point. So this grey wire connects in to the remaining wiring. And connection 2 is a heating off wire, and this was already wired in from the previous installation, so I have left it in the same position. And on this Hive single channel receiver, there is no use for connection point 4. This isn't used at all. This heating system is an S-plan, wired as an S-plan heating system. What that means is there are 2 control valves in the heating system. So this first control valve is for the radiators, and this second control valve is for the underfloor heating. And for the underfloor heating, we have a pump also. So I've now exposed more of the wiring. As you can see here, this is the wiring from the original system. It took a bit of understanding to figure out what all the wires were. So we have wires coming from the boiler, we have wires coming from the 2 valves, the pump, and also wires coming from the 2 wired thermostats for the 2 zones. So I have introduced a second wire. Firstly, this wire here came from the original digital controller, the backing plate that I've just shown you, and I have introduced this second wire which was introduced so I could wire in my second receiver. And you can see how the second receiver is wired the same way as the first receiver, with a neutral, a live, link between the live and connection point 1. We have an earth, and then in point number 3 we have a connection for heating on. So in the original system, from the original digital controller, it was this grey wire that came from the digital controller, and I'll just refer back, which was this grey wire here for the heating on. And what it was actually connected to, it was connected to 2 wires at this point. I have now removed one, and the 2 wires were the 2 wired in thermostats. So what I have done, I have removed one of the wires from one of the thermostats, and I've connected it to the Hive receiver here in point 3. So what I have now done is split the control of the 2 zones from the one original digital controller to the 2 Hive receivers. This means the 2 Hive thermostats can now control these 2 zones independently. I have kept the original all thermostats installed, and I have just turned them up to their max temperature, and this has allowed me then to override their control with the Hive thermostats, and gives me the control through the thermostats and also through the app on my phone. So what I do have to do is tidy up the wiring here. You can see I've used the black tape, insulation tape there, just as a temporary measure to connect in this second receiver. So I need a new wire connector, and also this backing plate I'll be mounting to the wall. Now I have all the wiring back together, this 3 amp fuse switch back on, and you can see the Hive system has to return to the green light for status. So that was a quick run through of how I've incorporated the Hive Active Heating Multizone system into my heating controls. I'm not a heating engineer or an electrician, so if you're doing this you may want to get some professional help. But this just demonstrates how it can be simply incorporated when you have 2 zones and you have different types of zones, as in underfloor heating or radiators, and also how to incorporate it when you already have wired in thermostats. And I've left those thermostats in place, as the lights on the thermostats will still indicate when heating is on, and that's good for the position that they're in. So there's lots of help online about this and doing this installation, but I thought it's always good to see an actual example of how it's installed, and this is for an S-plan wired heating system. So I hope this helps, and if you have any comments, please stick them below. Thanks.